Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Business Talk Mondays. I'm very excited for our guest today. She is a local from here, South Carolina, which is so exciting. Her name is Michel'le Jackson. I am very excited to introduce her. So, just a little bit about her before she hops on. She is a journalist. Amazing. Like we'll get into that. She has produced over 200 videos for the Aiken Standard, which is a local newspaper here. She appeared first time on national TV on the Wendy Williams show as a model. She won first place with the best feature and profiling for the 2019 Press Association News Contest, and she has hosted and co-hosted TV shows. So I'm super excited to have her on, share a little bit about her experience, what journalism is to her, how she got into the field, and some other fun things that we have lined up. So she's going to be joining on in just a moment. I see that she just appeared on. And hey, everyone, for tuning in. Super excited to have you all on here. Just waiting for Michel'le Jackson. She's going to be joining us today. So if you've wanted to ever get into the field or know a little bit about what she does, she's going to be sharing that with her and how this came about. So really excited to have her on. Let's see. Because sometimes technology, loves to work its magic, and sometimes it works perfectly. So she will be joining us in just a moment. But for those of you who are new to Business Talk Mondays, this kind of arose out of a passion of mine where I just love talking and I love learning new things. So I decided to incorporate those two things together and invite people who have different professions, who have different career paths, passion projects, whatever it is that can provide some inspiration for Mondays. Right? Because Mondays tend to be either really positive, up and, just ready to go. And sometimes Mondays are just a drag, especially coming from the weekend. So that's what these segments are for, to just provide that inspiration, that motivation to pick up whatever career, passion project, whatever it is that you've been putting on the side burner, put that into the driver's seat and just take it full throttle. So with that said, we're going to get started. Super excited. Michel'le, let me know if you have any issues logging on. Send me a message. But if not, I am ready for you, girl. I got these questions lined up. And I'm so excited to hear the answers. Another little sneak peek while we wait for her. She interviewed a very high-profile person, and we're going to learn about that today. We're going to learn about her experience in that situation, because I know for me, as much as I may seem that, I got this interviewing down pat. Oh, there we go. It's not always easy. So we're going to hear a little bit about her experience and how that worked out. Hello,
Hello.
welcome. I'm so
happy
excited
to
to
be
have you
here.
on. Yes, yes. I was trying not to drop too many, hints and, gooey details, but I'm super excited to have you on.
I'm so happy to be here. This is so awesome. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you. So if you can go ahead for my viewers and just introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about you.
Absolutely. So I'm Michel'le Jackson. I'm from Aiken, South Carolina originally. I went to school at LSU, so go Tigers. And I got my degree in broadcast journalism. So, mass communication, specializing in broadcast journalism. I love traveling. And I'm just excited to be on to talk about journalism. I mean, I heard you speaking earlier and you're like, I just love to talk. And like, I'm the same way. So I'm ready.
Awesome, awesome. So we're just gonna dive into it because I like to keep these things short and sweet, and get it right into it. So what inspired you to be a journalist?
So I always knew I loved talking and I always knew I wanted to be on TV. So I would definitely say Oprah Winfrey. I was like, I want to be like her. I'm modeling all my plans to be just like her. So I pretty much modeled my career after Oprah. I mean, of course, like I'm not Oprah, so I had to go some different routes, but it worked out for me. And I feel good to like be inspired by her and have kind of like a blueprint.
Definitely. No, she is one of many women, but definitely one of the top women to follow what she did. Why remake the wheel when you can kind of use the tools that she set and laid down for you? So that's phenomenal. And so thinking about journalism, how we are in this new era and this new age of social media and just the internet, how has journalism for you through your career path just transformed and changed from maybe it was, writing papers or what you grew up with to now in this new modern era that we're in?
Sure. So, I mean, of course, at LSU, it was, we learned everything. We learned print journalism, we learned broadcast, we learned PR, we learned everything in communications. And I feel like that set the foundation for me because now I feel like being in a journalist, you kind of have to be a social media guru. You have to be a media guru. You have to be able to tweet. You need to be able to get on Facebook, Instagram, like Pinterest, whatever. You need to be able to deliver whatever your media outlet is looking for.
Hmm.
Like LSU definitely set the grounds for that, but now it's changing even faster. So
Hmm.
what I would say nowadays is, I mean, you literally have to just learn nonstop. Like for me, for example, I want to learn how to fly a drone. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, okay, I want to learn how to do this. I want to like push forward as a videographer. So I feel like honestly, there's just it's endless in our industry. Things are always changing. So I would say like now I feel like I'm just always learning something new. Like every day I'm learning something new.
Hmm. Speaking of something new, you have learned a second language that's very
Yeah.
unique. How did that happen and what's the language?
Sure. So I love traveling. Okay, so two things, TV and travel. Those are like my two I love. And so one day I was like, you know what? I really want to travel internationally. And one of my friends told me, she said, oh, you need to come to China. Like China is great. And she was teaching oral English there. And so I said, okay, cool. Like I want to teach oral English too. Great. Hopped on a plane and I landed in Chongqing, China. So being there, I learned Mandarin.
Oh.
And yeah, I started learning. And so after that whole experience, I realized I was like, okay, Mandarin is a very, I mean, I feel like all languages are very important, but I just felt like
Hmm.
I, I had like a talent in that language because I tried Spanish and I was like horrible. I was so bad. Like Spanish, I was horrible. But Mandarin, I just could get it. I could understand it. So I've been building upon that. And through that talent and passion, I landed my first TV job, which was for Sinovision English Channel. It's a Chinese American media outlet located in New York. So I landed that, and then also now I just continue learning Mandarin, and now I'm certified at HSK 3 levels. So that's pretty exciting. There's 6 levels, six being you're fluent. So I'm at level
Uh-huh.
for
Oh, wow.
reading, writing, and listening.
Oh, wow. You're halfway there.
I'm halfway there. Yep, that's right.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I mean, that takes a very unique skill because I have tried speaking the words here and there, but it's definitely something that is doable, which is awesome. And it's something that's going to provide you that extra resume, right? Because
For
that's what landed you that job in New York. So that's phenomenal.
for sure, for
That's
sure.
phenomenal. Speaking of landing jobs, you landed a very unique interview, which I want to talk about, right? I want to
Yeah.
talk about who you interviewed, what were some of the challenges in that interview, and how you were able to grow from that experience.
Sure, sure. So I would say the interview is with DeMarcus Lawrence, and of course he's a Dallas Cowboys defensive end. And
Oh,
at
wow.
the I don't know now, but at the time he was the highest paid Dallas Cowboy of all time. So I was very nervous for that interview because like I wouldn't say I'm just a journalist, but whenever sometimes as a journalist, when you walk into a room and these people just have this just massive wealth or massive power or just massive whatever. Some people just have like huge personalities and you're kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, how am I going to ring this person in? and
Hmm.
and so I was already a little nervous about it. And then once the interview, it got time. So okay, so the event was the 2019 Best of Prep Sports Awards and Banquet here in Aiken. And he was like the special guest that came and spoke to the kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was great. And he's from this area, so it was perfect. But I had a one-on-one sit down kind of like talk show host style interview. Oh my gosh, I'm not even kidding you. I was so scared. I was so nervous. And I mean, I don't want to say I never get nervous, but I was so nervous. And then my co-producer, he got tied up in something, technical or something for the event that happened. And so then, okay, there's me, there's DeMarcus, and then we're like, I'm thinking like, who's gonna operate this camera? And so it defaulted to my video intern, Olivia. And if Olivia is watching, hi, I love you so much. Thank you for saving me. But she was our video intern. And so she had to video this, probably one of the biggest interviews that I've conducted myself thus far.
Mm-hmm.
She did, I will say, like, she rose to the occasion. She did fantastic. I was so proud of her. I mean, it was just like, it flowed. And then what I learned from that was, I mean, anything in post that I didn't really like, or maybe she was kind of, it was a wide shot and I wish it was a tighter shot, I could just fix it in post. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just happy. I was like, thank you, Olivia. Like, you were there, you stepped in, and it just kind of, it just taught me that sometimes when you're walking into a room and you're a journalist, just own the room, and things are
Mm-hmm.
going to go wrong. Like, they are going to go wrong, but as long as you have a picture in the frame and some audio, fix it in post. Try your best.
Yes, no, I love that. And I think that that happens more so than not in real life, right? Like sometimes you got to just go with the flow. And even though you have no idea what's about to happen next, you're going to act all confident, like you got this. You're
for,
going to own it.
for sure. That's literally what happened to me in that moment. And I mean, to this day, I will never forget like how afraid I was. I mean, I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to make it out of this interview alive type of thing. And
Mhm.
we made it and it went well. And I mean, everyone loved it. So you
That's
just,
so exciting. So exciting. And something too that you get to now share that experience with people who are watching, people who seek out to you, because maybe now they're becoming an aspiring journalist and you're able to provide that insight, that knowledge, and that experience to them. So that's so exciting. Um, so with that, right, you have co-hosted and even hosted shows before. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
sure. When I was in New York, I was co-hosting a show called Word on the Street, and it was for the Chinese American media outlet. So what we would do is we would take um, different idioms in Chinese, translate it in English, and see if people could kind of guess the meaning on the streets of New York. And so it would kind of be like in English, like, how we say, like, you're the apple of my eye. Well, if
Hmm.
you translate that into another language, it may not, it may be weird. Like, it's endearing if you say that to someone, but then if you translate it, then it's kind of like loses its meaning. And so
Hmm.
we did that on the street in New York, just seeing what kind of responses we could get. So it was myself and then my co-host, Christina Colgan. And that was kind of like my first, I don't want to say real, because in Tiger TV at LSU, I was hosting, I was reporting, doing the stand-ups. But I would say that was like my first time with a co-host and with a videographer and just being out there. And
Hmm.
um, so from that, transitioning from that, when I moved back to Aiken, because this is my home, Aiken, South Carolina. But when I moved back to Aiken, I started hosting shows solo, just by myself. So it was very different. It was a big transition, and I think that I used a lot more tactics that they teach you, like counting down, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then going. Or like sometimes if I sounded too robotic, I would say like, "Hey, my best friend's name," like, "Hey, Maya," and then start my. So all of my have like, "Hey, Maya" in front of it. Um, so I feel like it was a little more pressure, but it was a good pressure.
Hmm. Wow. That's again phenomenal experience to just have have gone through. And I love the show. So after we get off this call, I want the link because I was looking for it and I couldn't find it, but I would love to share that with our viewers because I know that I would be interested to hear how some of those translation work. My background is Puerto Rican, and so it's very similar. You know, we have things that translate from Spanish to English, and they don't make any sense sometimes.
None. Yes, it's really funny, and it just shows you too, like the context of when you're learning a language. It's so important, and like just the meaning behind not only the words, but the meaning behind the words, and when you should use them for the idioms. Oh my gosh, that show was so amazing. I enjoyed it.
It sounds like a great experience. And so you have a passion project, which I feel like the drone experience is kind of gonna go into that. So share a little bit about that.
Sure. So, and you're exactly like spot on. That's exactly why I want to explore flying a drone more. Travel. I love hosting traveling shows. I've hosted one in Aiken, 10 Things to Do in Aiken, which that video performed pretty well. So I felt like so proud. People are always like, what do I do in Aiken? So it's just 10 things to do. I think it's under $100. So it's affordable things. But just ideas for people. So that travel show. But as far as self-producing, I have self-produced a travel show completely in Mandarin, but it has English subtitles. So yeah, done that. Did season 1 with that. Now I'm working on season 2. So I really want to step it up. Like I said, in journalism, you're always going to be growing and becoming better and trying to find ways to get your content out there. So I definitely want to acquire the knowledge of flying a drone. And then for my season 2 of my traveling show, which you can find that on YouTube, Jack Radio. So it's MJACK Radio, RADIO. And that's a long story. I thought I was going to go into radio. Okay, TV. But so it's Jack Radio on YouTube. But yeah, so that's my passion project, is creating travel shows. And I want to do more with that. I want to explore more with that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that I'm not sure exactly how I came across your page, but I know it had a lot to do with me searching things to do in Aiken, right? And it was both on YouTube and Instagram, and your page ended up coming up, and I came across the 10 things to do, and I was so excited because we have just moved here from Florida, so we weren't really sure, and there's not actually a lot of content when it comes to not just South Carolina, but specifically Aiken. And when I saw your video, I was like, wow, I didn't know about that. I had driven by that and didn't even know that that existed. I think the trolley was one of them. I had driven by and I was like, oh, what's that? And when I saw your video, I was like, oh, it makes sense now. And you could actually ride it. So your video was super helpful for somebody just moving in here and trying to, you know, get their feet wet about this country, about this town. So it was really exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Aiken County, it does have a lot to offer, but I feel like if you're not a native, sometimes things can like hide from you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know it's there. It can definitely hide from you. So that was pretty much that project, that goal was, hey, what do we have here that's cool? And people always say there's nothing to do, but I mean, we can go out and find things to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that was that, and I'm so happy that that helped you, because that's what I want my content to do. Like, I want it to be an experience. Ultimately, I want it to be an experience, and I want people to say, oh, wow, like I never thought of that before, or let me try that. So I'm so happy that that helped you.
Yes, and somebody wrote in the comments, Aiken's best kept secret in South Carolina. It's so true.
That's
It's
right.
so true.
Yeah, that was Aiken's best kept secret. Yep. That was the name of that video, Aiken's Best Kept Secrets.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yes.
I mean, it's easy for things to hide here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so much history. I think that's one thing that I've found just so exciting moving from Florida, and specifically I'm from Miami, so it's a very new city when you think about other cities that have such history, talking about the 1700s and even further back. So when we moved to South Carolina, you know, and just came across all the history of it, I don't think you could do it in one video.
I know.
So,
There you go. And there's so much more. Like, honestly, I feel like at first we were scratching our head, like, what are we going to come up with? But then people were like, "Oh, you can do this, MJ. You can." MJ's my nickname, so they'd be like,
Hmm.
"This MJ, you could do this." So literally, it ended up being like I had to cut out like so many activities that people sent because I was just like, "Okay, well, I can't do all of these things,
Hmm.
and
Yes,
keep it
exactly.
$100." So it was kind of like, okay. But yeah, I mean those activities, they're out there. Like it can really does have something for everyone. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that because I'm from Aiken, but I do really believe that. Like it's a small city, and so you still get that everyone knows everyone type of feeling.
Hmm.
But then also, you can go out to Hopelands or you can go out to, I mean, just whatever kind of activities that you want to do. I know they have an escape room and just different things like that that you wouldn't even think to go to. You
Hmm.
know? Yeah.
Yes. And I think one of your next videos is a suggestion right here, places to eat in Aikens.
Perfect. And that's Mike. Yeah, Mike, listen, we gotta do that. Best
I,
place.
I would definitely watch it. I'll tell you that because food, I'm a foodie. So
Yes.
I, anything that has to do food related, I'm there.
We have to do that. See, there's so many ideas because like you said, it's kind of like an untapped like um industry here in Aiken.
Yes.
Not so much content. Like, I mean, you go to a place like New York, there's been a gazillion like best
Hmm.
places in New York. But then somewhere like Aiken or CSRA or Augusta, it's like you can really find some neat places and highlight them, and people will be like, "Huh, I didn't even know that existed." So,
So that's really, good insight for any aspiring journalist or projects, right? Like this is the
right.
city, this is the state to be in, not being biased, but
For sure.
so,
Yeah.
Michel'le, you have such an impressive resume. I told you this as we were emailing back and forth. You have just so much to offer. And I'm just so grateful that were able to take the time and come on here with me. What is next? What what is up your sleeve, girl?
Um, of course, I'm always like thinking about like I said, kind of like the fly in the drone. It's like, what do I want to do? I want to do something bigger. I want to do something. I want to create better content. I want to reach a larger audience. And honestly, what's next for me is like, of course, travel. Like I've got to include more travel.
Mhm.
I mean, but for right now, that may not be
Yeah.
the best, but in the future. But then also just as far as building my personal brand, I think that that's so important for journalists, and that's something that's new. Before it was kind of like, okay, maybe you work at ABC and then that's your thing and then you're good. But now it's kind of like, okay, you work at ABC or you work at NBC. Okay, what else do you do? And then it's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, what do you like? Okay, well, where do you go? So I definitely want to spend more time building my personal brand and eventually own my own business, a content creating business where I can outsource my feature writing and video making. So definitely ownership is like in my future what I want. And so to get there, I'll be building my brand. I'll be reaching out to freelance opportunities. I already write for a publication called the Charlotte Five. So that's been going great, writing articles for.
Wow.
And I actually need to send you my latest article. It was about virtual online cooking classes.
I
So
saw one of your posts about that, and it
yeah,
was here in Aiken, correct?
well, that's virtual. That I wrote it for
Oh,
Charlotte, but the classes are virtual, so you could take the
do it from
classes,
anywhere.
yeah, from anywhere.
Wow.
So things like that, like expanding my brand and expanding,
Hmm.
which I feel like anyone in media now, we're realizing that this is the way to go. Like you
Hmm.
have, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't just work for one media outlet and that's it and go home. And
Exactly.
it's like you got to keep building yourself and creating like a package, like a business package, a media kit is what I have. Creating that and showing people like not only am I a reporter here or journalist here, but also I have
Hmm.
these other freelance projects I'm working on or my passion project that I'm working on. People love that stuff now. I mean,
Hmm.
they love to get to know who you really are. So that's what I want to work on.
Yes, definitely. And especially in this new era, and I think COVID really just kind of sped up the process of us really relying on technology and social media. In this era that we're in, people want to see who's the person behind the camera, and not just like what do you do, but who are you, right? And so your Instagram nowadays has become your resume.
That's
So
right.
it's crazy. It's crazy. It's exciting. It's also a little foreign because growing up with dial up and, working our way to what we are now.
Right? Oh, totally. Totally. I mean, all of that is true. And that's why I'm like, just looking at my online presence and I'm saying, hey, I've got to do lives with people. I've got to do interviews and kind of be the interviewee, which is different for me. But I feel like that's so important, like having that experience and sharing my experience with people. And I mean, we didn't get into this and we probably won't have time, but when I moved to New York, I packed up my car and drove to New York. And I just lived on my friend's grandma's couch for like a week until I figured out what I wanted to do. So it's like you have to share those real stories with people,
Hmm.
who you are, as you were saying, with people, and then they can connect with you better. That's the
Exactly.
story. That's the
Yes.
story.
It's so true. And I think time and time again, we see it with Oprah Winfrey is a perfect example of that, right? When she started off at 23, she wasn't where she wanted to be, and she had to struggle and have obstacle after obstacle before she finally made it and hear a lot of no's. I think that's one of the
Yeah,
biggest messages I got from watching a few of her interviews, right? She heard a lot of no before she heard that one yes. But all it took was that one yes.
there you go. That's right. And it
So,
will come. It will
mhm.
come. It might take time. It might take some tears. It might take some hard work, but you will get the yes. And when you do, it's going to be like fireworks. You know,
Yes.
I finally got this. I prayed for this. I worked hard for this. I knew I could do it. It's like fireworks. And then once you start getting the yeses, you build momentum. You
Hmm.
get more yeses, and then maybe you get some no's, but then you get some more yeses. And then it's like the no's don't even really affect you that much anymore.
Hmm.
Like, okay, you don't want to work with me? That's fine. I'm moving on. So,
Yes. And I'm glad you said yes to this interview. I'm so excited that we got to virtually connect. And I hope, in the very soon future, when things clear up, that we can actually, sit down and have a cup of tea or coffee, whatever it is. Because I would love to just, connect with people. And that is just my passion. And I am so excited that we were able to do this interview. And I got to interview you, and you got to be in the hot seat.
right, it's so different. I'm like, and before I was like, I hope I don't say anything crazy. And then I was like, this is how people feel whenever I interview.
Exactly. It
Anything
gave
that,
you some good insight.
yeah, I got a thumbs up. Hey,
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And I hope that, our viewers got some really good insight onto not just who you are, Miss Jackson, but as well as if they're aspiring to go down this career path, that what it takes, right? And I think you gave just some really good advice about creating your brand and just being personable and just putting, yourself out there, but in a way that is going to be professional and help you grow. So thank you so much for your time.
thank
Um,
you for having me. I'm so happy. This has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for the interview.
awesome. Well, you have a great day. And I will be sending you this shortly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching.